Okay, that worked. Okay.
Why am I on there? What happened? Oh, I see. Okay.
I don't know what happened there. Kathleen, do you want to wait? I'm going to stop the share.
Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second.
Okay, there it is.
Oh.
Okay. So welcome to the Southside Community Council's May Development Activities Meeting. If you'd like to learn more about the Southside Community Council's involvement in community development, please go to our website, southsidecommunitycouncil.org, and under About Us.
Marlene, thank you.
Okay, I think I forgot to mute everyone.
Yeah.
Prior to the presentations, I'll share how you can participate. There will be 2 presentations along with next steps for each. And so what I'd like to do is presenters, please clearly describe the slide that are being presented in order to assist those who might be participating via audio to follow along with the presentation. If the host needs to change your status in the meeting, there may be a pause. Do not restart Zoom. After each presentation, we'll invite questions and comments in this order. The chat feature is enabled for you to ask questions. The moderator, which will read these questions out loud for the panels. Kathleen Petrillo is going to do that at this DAM meeting. If you'd like to ask a question by microphone, you may raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, and I'll unmute you so that you can speak. For voice call-ins, press 9 to raise your hand. We'll announce the last 4 digits of your phone number and unmute you when ready. So, and as you well know, we are recording this. So our first presentation is Oliver Bathhouse.
Okay, Barbara, I'm good to share screen.
Okay, I'm muting everyone, so unmute yourself.
Okay. Can everyone hear me? All right, I'm gonna share my screen here. All right, thank you everyone for your time tonight. We're very excited to present this very valuable renovation project for the city and for the community tonight. My name is Elijah Dolly. I'm with Buchart Horn Architects. I'm the project manager. And with me tonight is Bill Brennan. Bill, do you want to give a short introduction?
Yes, my role is historic architect. I'm responsible for meeting with HRC as well as SHPO. I have about 40 years of experience in dealing with historic architectural designs, and I'm really looking forward to this one. This is very unique.
And also with me tonight and throughout the project is Chris Urban.
Hi, everybody. I'm a project architect at Buchart Horn Architects.
This project is through the City of Pittsburgh Department of Public Works. Also on the call are Claire Master Bernardino, project manager, and Joe Adetori Jr., assistant project manager. And they will be able to field any city-specific questions that may come up. So throughout the presentation, which we're going to try and keep brief so that we can have lots of discussion following, we already went over the introductions. I want to show briefly the site and context, which I'm sure many of you well know, and then focus on the improvements to the exterior of the building. We'll briefly go over the interior, and then we'll also talk about the opportunities for artwork within and around the building. So can everyone see my mouse, my hand here?
They are on mute, Eli.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And I'm not seeing the full panel, but can you see my mouse, Bill?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so this is the south side, and the East Carson Historic District is outlined in this light blue and the pale yellow. Here's the 10th Street Bridge coming across. Here's Carson Street. Our building is situated right here on Bingham and 10th. Zoom in a little bit closer. You can see that we're within the historic district. There is a Holiday Inn Express right next door, as well as a building that's being renovated as by a developer, I believe, right now. That was part of the complex originally. So that's that building, and our building here is outlined in teal. So we're bounded roughly by the hotel to the north and the factory to the west here. Building was gifted to the city by Henry Oliver. It was built in 1915, and it was designated as a historic landmark in 2017. It's currently run by the city's Parks and Rec Department, and is used as a pool. Primarily, the majority of the space is a pool, and it has accessory spaces along with it. The majority of our work here is going to be, it's a renovation to the building, no change of use, really restoring it to its former glory, and taking care of a lot of deferred maintenance. So some of those important things that the community will see whenever this project is done are masonry and stone cleaning. The brick and stone could use some gentle cleaning. Window restoration. We've looked at options, a number of options for treatment of the windows, and are moving ahead with resealing and replacing the gaskets, cleaning, obviously, and then on the interior, we'll be applying a storm window to help with the condensation and the thermal properties of the window.
Eli, it should be noted that these windows were not original, but were installed in the 1930s because the original windows had failed. They are single pane glass, and therefore we're going to put a storm on the inside so that the exterior appearance doesn't change.
Thanks, Bill. In addition to that, we're going to be replacing the non-original entrance doors and transom to replicate the former character of the original door and transom, as well as the lighting at the entrance. They're currently, I won't call them contemporary fixtures, but we'll be looking to replace them with something closer to what was originally installed. The sidewalk will be replaced, as well as the site railing. And one of the major things I wanted to, we'll see this in other pieces, is, well, new flagpole. And then there's an apartment that was not original to the building. I'll get into that later, but demolishing that and replacing with an HVAC unit, air handling unit, to help with the humidity throughout the building. To look at the front of the building, some current pictures here. You can see the site railing in pretty bad shape. Doors obviously not original, as well as the lighting and
Surface mounted conduit.
Yep. And here's a closer look at the current window condition, as well as the stone cleaning and brick cleaning that will need to be done. The gaskets and seals around the window, obviously in need of replacement, and the condition of the interior, where we'll be setting a storm window where you can still see the original windows. This is the current caretaker's apartment that was built, not original to the existing structure, that sits up on top of a flat roof section at the front of the building. Pretty hard to see from the front street, given the very tall parapet. It's in pretty rough shape, and there's no longer a need for a caretaker at the building. So this is being proposed to be demolished. This is the south facade along Bingham Street. To give you an overview, it is windows allowing light into the upper areas, as well as smaller windows on the ground floor. Again, we're looking at masonry cleaning, window restoration, just as on the east facade, and roof replacement, given the state of the roof. I'll talk about that more later. We have here a photovoltaic array. We're not sure yet whether this will be part of this project, but we'd like to introduce it as something that the city is considering and may ultimately put up on the roof to help out with the energy goals that we're trying to meet with this building. The other part I wanted to mention, along with the caretaker's apartment and the HVAC units, is that the height of the parapet, though you can see it on a head-on elevation here, you don't really perceive the roof in its entirety from the street. So we don't believe the photovoltaic array will be as much of a site concern as we normally look at these.
Eli, would you toggle back one slide? There you can see that you can't see the roof on the building from the sidewalk on the other side of Bingham.
Yep, and this is pretty much, this is as far away from the building as you can get on this street. So onto the roof itself, it's had a number of shingle applications to it. The deck is in rough shape and in need of replacement, as well as many of the wood purlins. The steel superstructure of trusses is in very good condition, actually. So we'll be retaining that and just doing a roof replacement with a new acoustic deck to help out with the sound and noise within the space, as well as significant insulation on the new roof in order to help out on our energy side. Here's a picture showing the front of the building, but we wanted to point out the factory that used to butt into the north elevation, which we'll get into next. You can see that a stucco was applied where the factory used to abut the current structure, the hotel near door with a little gap, and the screening for condensing units that facilitate the hotel. This is all hotel property here, sidewalk and the pull through. However, we're looking at, and we'll see this later in the plan, providing a second means of egress for the building here. Here in elevation, you can see where we're proposing to add a door, as well as this stucco being and/or brick being a great potential for artwork, a mural, sculpture. This would have to be coordinated with the hotel, but this presents a nice face for the building that is not necessarily part of the same historic fabric that the east and south elevations present. And so this could be a real opportunity to liven up this facade.
Yeah, that facade is mostly utility brick and not the same brick that's used on the other elevations.
Here is a plan, just sort of recaps a lot of what we were talking about with the, this is a demolition plan that shows the extent of the caretaker's apartment, which is being proposed to be demolished. And then the proposed plan with the new HVAC unit set back from the parapets, and then the photovoltaic array potentially being here. And again, as we saw, not visible from the street. If you've been in the building, you go in the front door. There's a small vestibule and a small lobby, and you currently access the pool through the office. Our intent is to restore the procession to the original large door that you have here. You check in at a new counter. This provides some more space for the office. You're able to enter the building and use it as it once was used, as it was originally intended to be used. This also provides some additional fire protection in that you have a protected means of egress from this stair, as well as the second means of egress would be a protected corridor from the north stair. We are proposing upgrading the ADA restroom to be accessible from the pool deck, as well as upgrading the accessible shower on this ground floor level. We'll be doing some deck repair to the deck around the pool, as well as masonry repair to some of the cracking masonry and terracotta around the interior. And for both energy concerns, mostly energy concerns, we're looking at installing a pool cover that will unfold from the west wall. That'll really significantly cut down on the humidity, as well as the cooling loads for the new air handling units. On the mezzanine level, we're proposing replacing the changing rooms and storage around the top to be closer to what was originally there. We'll show some photos of that later. Upgrading the toilet and shower rooms with new fixtures and new finishes, and restoring this main opening circulation area as a more open and inviting area. Currently, there's a boxed out, plastic boxed out partition that encloses this stair. We'll be getting rid of that. That's not necessary to the fire protection. Replacing the currently painted block walls that are screening for the restrooms with obscured glazing, and providing enclosure for this whole stair area with curtain wall glazing up to the ceiling and doors there. The railing is, we have some plans for replacing the railing to upgrade it to current code compliance. Raising the height of the railing is one of the main things, as well as taking the bow out of it that it has currently, but otherwise maintaining the character of the railing as it is, as well as the tie rods. In the basement is where we're doing the heavy lifting of the pool system and MEP upgrades, however they shake out, depending on the calcs that we're running with the energy scenarios. We'll also be upgrading the underside of the pool deck and repairing the vault area here underneath the sidewalk. In section, this is really just a recap, but I think one thing I didn't mention was the new lighting throughout to reduce the glare on the surface of the pool so you can see what's going on more easily, as well as brighten up the space. one of our proposed intentions is to paint out the trusses and ceiling in a lighter color than the darker gray that it is now, and provide both up and down light, but mostly a more diffused uplight against that white that'll create a much brighter, cheerier interior. New ductwork, again, to facilitate a much less humid space and a much more controlled environment. And I think I mentioned the rest of this stuff. The last thing I wanted to talk about, well, this is the egress path, but this is a nice segue and a nice photo of the lobby here, which has some applied tile work to it, not original. We are looking at this as a potential location for some artwork, have an artist create some sort of mosaic or other feature that could be shown off in this otherwise non-historic treated space. So I talked about that one. Some other areas that we're looking at are, I talked about the exterior mural, but another opportunity may be within the office on the back wall. As you enter the space, enter the lobby and look towards the office, you could see local artists work within the office through the lobby glazing. And one of the other locations we've looked at is in this mezzanine area, incorporating something artistic into the new flooring that we intend to put down to reduce slipping. There's currently a number of mats that are laid out around the mezzanine. It's just it's a cracking terrazzo floor and does not provide any real slip resistance. So potentially putting textured epoxy or some sort of tile down in order to reduce the slip coefficient on the mezzanine level. Here again is a look at the current condition of the railing that we're looking at potentially replacing in kind, however, raising and bringing up to code compliance, and the state of some of the masonry that we need to look at. And lastly, here's a look at the changing rooms as they were, and the rhythm of the changing room doors as the new storage that we're proposing towards the back. Here's the current condition. We'll be looking to replicate this rhythm and style and character of the original in the new proposed layout.
And the privacy.
And the privacy. And with that, thank you all again for the opportunity to present, and we welcome any discussion here.
Thanks, Elijah. That was a great presentation. I was actually involved with getting the ball rolling on the historic designation, and taught my daughter how to swim there. Probably many others here did as well. So I've spent many a days down there. So quite familiar with the building. Couple questions I wrote down here during the presentation, and anybody else can jump in. The bollards at the front, I know it's dilapidated, but I didn't see, are you replacing it with some type of guard to protect the pedestrians?
Yes, absolutely.
Something similar or something different? Because I don't particularly love the one that's there, but I don't know if I don't want a utilitarian pole either. Was there something in mind from you guys?
That was another area that we were looking at for a potential artist's interpretation. Something that's certainly not as utilitarian. Something that maybe blends more with the historic character of the front facade. Obviously, it wasn't there originally. I thought I had a better picture. Here it is. Yeah. But something that provides the same amount of protection, or maybe even better, because it looks a little bit bent over as it is now.
Yeah, and cars fly by there, and having kids, they're kind of running around and running out the door. It's something definitely needed. So if I could encourage you to find something that goes with the building and works there, we definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, that whole sidewalk has to be replaced.
Right. It's a vault, right? There's a
Mhm.
That's right.
right, so you can put something in and yeah, okay. On the side elevation, can we get some street trees as part of the renovation down the side?
So this is something we've been investigating. We obviously can't do anything on the vault side, but on the south elevation here, we are still pretty narrow, pretty tight to the building. This is something that we're in discussions with the city forester
Yep.
about whether trees will grow here and if it's a good idea. I think that it's also something that would need to be brought up with SHPO once we get our talks with the forester and some better determinations. Only because trees would screen, but otherwise I don't believe that there were trees here previously.
I agree.
We're-
It's nice to get some shade there. It's very hot when you're walking next to that building in the summer. So 2 or 3 would be nice. I know there's some
Mhm.
conflicts there, but ask Lisa, Miss Chaffee, she could
Mhm.
maybe find a more transparent tree type instead of a leafy tree, So the windows, why are we just replacing them? If they're not original, I've been in there in the dead of winter and they're just condensating. They're a hot mess. There are
Mhm.
lots of things that are wrong with them. Could they not just be replaced and perform better for us and be a longer term solution than trying to keep with, I mean, they're really in bad shape. I spent a lot of time looking at them over the years.
They are.
We've had a discussion with SHPO already, and they've replied that they would prefer to have them retained unless we can prove that they can't be repaired. And at the moment, they can be repaired. And therefore, the alternative is to improve the building performance by including interior storm. Realize that the condensate that has been there not be there in the future simply because of the air handling that is going in.
Yeah, realize you're going to have a better HVAC system to mitigate some of that, but I know that storm windows just don't seal as well, and we're going to end up, I fear we're going to have condensation on the back of the old window behind the storm window, and it's going to become another problem, I guess, for the, after the fact. So I don't know, not my preference, but I just thought I'd throw that out there and see if there's a.
I think there are many who agree with you, but I think the state has spoken, and I think what we're trying to do is get their approval.
Talking about the roof, are you replacing all the deck? Are you putting a metal or wood deck back up?
So in the main space, we're looking at an acoustic deck. It will end up looking, I mean, it's pretty far away from the ground, but the actual material is more fibrous. It's a deck that's installed in a lot of natatoriums and pool spaces because it's both able to absorb sound really well, which you don't have any other spaces that are able to do that, or any other surfaces that are able to do that. And it also holds up well in a humid environment. So we're looking at an acoustic panel for the deck, and then above that will be the layers of sheathing, insulation, etc.
What's the product, may I ask?
Tectum is one of
Tectum.
the bases of design.
All right. Yep. And then is the roof on top of that? Are you going to put shingles back on that, or is that going to be rubber to match the rest of that? Are you replacing all the existing rubber flat and shingle roof, or will it all just be rubber then, or are you going to put shingles or try to mix it up?
I believe that we are looking at a standing seam system for the gabled roof and a TPO or an EPDM for a single ply membrane for the flat roof.
And are you putting a chimney cap on that thing?
Um,
It's always got water running around on it. And
yeah,
having an old house or two, I'd look up there and I'm thinking that thing should have a stainless steel cap or a stone cap that diverts water and doesn't let it run down and, stain the masonry anymore. Is that part? It's right there. That's exactly what happens.
yep,
Um,
yep. We noticed this as well. We've been working with our engineers to talk about what they think is causing this. We'll be doing something to the top of the chimney. And we'll also be doing something to treating the interior of the chimney and the systems that are going up through it.
On the inside, anybody else jump in if you want. I'm on a roll though.
I have other questions when you're done, Mike.
Okay, the pool deck. What are you doing as a pool deck inside around the pool itself? It's not like a traffic coating. Is that going to be tile as well, or?
So we will be, we've been talking with Parks and the facilities managers there. There are sections of the pool deck we think that they need to be replaced based on the structure that we're seeing below and creating something that's going to last there for a long time. Other sections only need to be repaired. And then the coating for the top level is going to be to match whatever we put up top. As I understand it now, it's just a paint that they reapply every year or two. And we'd be looking at a more permanent system.
Like a tile or another permanent coating system?
Probably a coating system, probably some sort of slip resistant resin.
It can't have a lot of depth to it simply because of the curb on the pool deck.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a resinous coating,
Okay.
something like Dexatex or something like that.
Right. You talked about a pool cover that's mounted on the west end. I
Mhm.
know from learning how to swim with my daughter, or she was learning how to swim, I was in the pool. They use that west end for the kids to learn how to jump in. And how can it be mounted there and not take up that valuable 12 inches at the west end of the pool that's used all the time by the kids as part of that, because that's an invaluable, I don't know, purpose of that pool, I think, to teach everyone how to swim.
So that's a great question, and that's something that we're talking with a couple different manufacturers right now. The most prominent systems we're seeing actually have the rolls for the cover are mounted on the wall and up higher. And I believe with the height of the space for the deck, you would still be able to stand under the rolls. We're also looking at the potential of mounting them to the underside of the mezzanine. And both systems work such that the roll has cables that would be attached to the mezzanine on the other side, and they unfurl, and then they're both automatic systems, unfurl on the surface of the water based on a pulley system of cables that are attached to the mezzanine.
Okay, great. I just have I promise, three more things, Jackie, and then you're on deck. The ductwork. So I also use the Thumb Love It, and they have stainless steel ductwork up there, and it's even corroding in their pool environment. What is your ductwork going to be here, and how are we going to stop it from looking like rusty corrosion, inside pool environment in a few years? Because I was kind of dismayed by that up there. They spent a lot of money on that, and it still ended up looking pretty bad. I don't know if you know that place up on the hill, the YMCA up in Center Ave, but it's very nice, and they spent the money, and it still ended up corroding. So what is your thought?
So the current system that's being proposed is a fabric duct that runs around the exterior. Now there will still be some hard duct up to the air handling unit. We've done a number of these, and if the air handling unit is working correctly, we should be pulling enough moisture and chloramine chloramines and other eroding chemicals out of the air that we shouldn't have to worry about that, but we'll take a look at that.
Okay. And then the last thing is, are there lockers in the new plan? I didn't see any lockers.
Yeah, we have them on the mezzanine level
Oh,
here on the east wall.
where the hair dryers are now. Looks like.
Yes, yeah.
And then the last two comments was the vending machine. Is that going away or is it finding a permanent home?
That is a question that's being passed around with parks about whether that needs to stay there or so does it need to stay there?
I'd prefer if it moved. It takes up like, half the space. You're always jostling around it. It's takes
Yeah.
away from the enjoyment of the entrance, that's for sure. So, and then my last comment is on the second floor, when you get to the top of the stairs, I like the doors that you are proposing. Can they move west though, so that you're not opening the door into the face of the person coming up the other way or towards you? Could you just move that inside those two side walls back 4 feet and give yourself a place to stand in front of the door and not open it back towards the people coming up the stair? Is that possible? Kind of tight there with the radiators and I don't know, you have that space. I don't know, think about it.
Sure.
One of the reasons we're adding that door and that wall is for a fire rating to separate those stairs from
Sure.
the mezzanine space. So we pretty much have to come back before the entrances to the bathrooms, and then you'd have to separate those bathrooms, and they would be enclosed with the stairs too. So I'm not saying it's not possible. That's definitely something to look at, but that's why we put it there right now.
Could
But
we
that's
not just
definitely
rate,
something to take a look at.
could we rate the first two panels of the storefront and just slide it 1 mullion back to the left? You know what I mean?
Eventually, you would have this would be the profile
Yeah.
going up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
The ceiling's
The-
kind of awkward there. It has like this giant coffered dome, if I recall. So there's not really a good place for it anyways, right?
Right,
Sure.
right. I will say that these radiators are going away.
Okay.
So that'll alleviate somewhat. And again, this will all be, this will all be glass. These panels will be obscured, and then the center panels will be clear. So you'll have, the intent is to continue to have good visibility and improve the visibility of the whole space.
All right. And then the stair going up to the roof, is that then closed off, or there used to be just a chain there? Is that what's gonna?
So we are going to remove part of the upper part of this stair that goes up to the caretaker's apartment currently, and put in a ladder for going up to a roof hatch, but not such that the ladder is extremely tall. And we would be doing some sort of protection here where only personnel who need to access the HVAC unit would be going up further.
Thank you. Jackie, you're up.
Oh, thanks. Great, really great presentation. You can really tell the amount of due diligence that you guys have worked on to this point. Mike covered a lot of my questions, except for, I heard you mention, Elijah, a few times, integrating artwork from local artists. And I've worked on a number of architectural projects that have that in the narrative. And it's usually one, because you actually truly want an artist to be part of the project, or two, you haven't figured out what to do there yet. So you're saying, let's have an artist figure it out. Or three, it's going to be a future value engineering opportunity on the project. And so the space that faces the hotel, I'm not really concerned about. But when you mentioned the bollards out front, that concerns me, and it makes me think it should really be part of the base project because of the life safety issue there, like Mike said, about coming in and out of the building.
Mhm.
And really be complementary to the building and part of the base project. And the other is, when you go into that vestibule, yeah, there's that sort of tacky, whatever, 50s or 60s mosaics on the wall. But isn't that your opportunity to really set the stage for what the building is from a historical perspective, and try to outfit that space to make it look like it was almost part of the building originally, versus having an artist do a mural or a mosaic or something like that. But that would be my only opinion there, because the interpretation from an artist could be so varied, even with community input, that you never know what you're going to end up with in the end. And so those are my only comments for thought. Thank you.
Hi, this is Claire. I'm the senior project manager with the Department of Public Works, and they're great comments, Jackie. So I would like to address, just with the artwork, it can't really be value engineered out because it's a city building and we have the legislated 1% for art. So we'll go before the Art Commission. And what I have found with the Art Commission is they don't like it when we tell them what we're doing in conceptual. They want to see some options. So they'll give us, I would assume, some direction on how they want us to move. And I mean, we have preferences, but if they would rather us not do that, then we want to make sure that we have some things. I mean, definitely, I love the idea of, some sort of decorative railing, bollards in the front, and it is necessary. And if we can do that and the Art Commission is on board with that, that's a great solution. But we do also have to have some other kind of options, and we might narrow those down, especially based on some of the comments that we're getting today. But just want to make sure that we keep our options open.
Thanks, Claire. And Jackie, yeah, again, great questions. And one of the things that we were grappling with in even proposing that as an opportunity for art is the fact that this original lobby, well, the way that this lobby originally functioned was there was a revolving door back here, and this pair of doors actually swung in, and this gray outline is the original masonry. So you can see where it's pocketed, where they originally had these first pair of doors fully open all day, and you then went through the revolving door. Now, unfortunately, because of code, the doors can't swing in. The doors will have to swing out, and so these pockets can't necessarily be used anymore as they once were, and we don't have the revolving door anymore either. Again, a code thing. So it will not be able to replicate what was there before. But I do hear what you're saying about these two areas, both the bollards and the vestibule, being potentially too important to the historic character of the building to be areas where we would open it up to any artist interpretation, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yeah, that was sort of the main point of my comments. Absolutely.
I have a comment and a question. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, just a couple quick ones. You did say that the lanterns and the conduit on the front of the building were going to be removed, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and they're going to be replaced with some type of lantern, anything like the original?
Yeah, we're trying to match as closely as we can to the original drawings and the original photos that we found, a cast iron style. This will, of course, need to be run by DOMI for the encroachment into the right of way, but something with a far more historic character than what we have currently.
It was a bracketed fixture, but it was at an elevation that could be cleared. What's happened is the sidewalk has been raised in front of the building, and therefore we have to find a fixture which is similar although no good photographs remain that we have found. So it would be a period fixture from the early 1900s.
Well, that photo that's on, which page?
It's slide 7, Eli.
Is that it, the east elevation? Yeah. When you zoom in on that elevation, that front, by the front door there, yeah, that one. When you zoom in on that, you get, I guess, a pretty good idea of what it used to look like, although trying to replace it, yeah, be kind of tricky.
Yeah, and it's gonna have to be higher because of,
Okay, the sidewalk, yeah.
right.
Okay, all right, the other question was, if you, the guard that's on the front there by the door, is there any chance or thought about maybe reusing some of the existing railing from inside the mezzanine and bringing it outside here and refurbish it and use it as a guardrail?
That's an interesting thought. We hadn't considered that.
Well, as a clarifier, at the moment, we're not replacing the rail. We're trying to raise the rail and modify it to comply. SHPO had the same comment about how to repurpose the rail, and I think what we can do is raise it, and I think that's the proposal that we've given to SHPO.
You mean the railing that's on the mezzanine?
That's correct.
Oh, okay, so there won't be any spare parts left.
No, probably not.
But I do like that idea.
The design could certainly be replicated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all I had. Thanks. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Good idea, Mike.
I have a question. I'm sorry. I have a question about the actual temperature inside the building.
Mhm.
I know when I go there in the wintertime, it's very cold. The water is heated to like 82 or whatnot, and you're fine when you're in the water, but when you get out of the water, the building is super cold. Will all the stuff that you're doing help alleviate that problem?
Absolutely. That's one of the main things that we're looking at is control of the climate and the environment in the space to be far more comfortable. The current HVAC system is not functioning properly, and that's why you're having a lot of issues. The coldness in the winter, the heat in the summer, the condensation on the windows, the state-of-the-art HVAC units and MEP systems will be taking care of a lot of that.
So I had a comment and a question. The comment Mike Clark did actually cover would be, a lot of us with younger children do look forward to taking our children here and teaching them how to swim. So that west wall is very important to not block it in any way. But the question would be, and I know that it's probably going to be hard to answer, but do you have any kind of estimate as to how long the bathhouse will be closed for during the renovations?
So we're looking at this all depends on how much we can control how long a contractor is going to take to do this. Our current estimate is that it's going to take around 10 to 12 months to do. And we've talked with the Parks Department about whether we phase this project or whether we try and do it in one shot. And the consensus has been to do it in one shot. That would be more efficient for the contractors, and ultimately you wouldn't have any disruptions other than that this block of time it's not going to be available. So Claire, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're looking at potentially bidding in the early winter or midwinter, and the goal is to allow use of the building through April or May of next year, and then start construction then and roll on through as quickly as possible.
No, yeah, Eli, that's correct. The Parks and Rec, they've asked that we let them use the building through when they train their lifeguards for summer season.
I have a couple of comments if I could chime in. My name is Jody Sherman. I'm with the local review committee. I apologize, Bob Russ, our fearless leader, is unable to join us today, so I've been designated to provide some comments on this one. The local review committee for the East Carson Street Historic District it's an advisory committee to the Historic Review Committee for the city. So we generally review projects within our district and provide commentary during the Historic Review Committee presentations each month as part of their information. So we had a chance to briefly review this on Tuesday. We're very excited for the project. We think it looks great. Thank you for providing a little bit more information on the caretakers unit. We were unsure if that was original to the building. It sounds like it's not. As far as the mechanical equipment that's in essence taking its place, I would just make the one comment on the sight lines. I think the view distance is a little further. It needs to be a little further away than the other side of the block. I think I took a look on Street View, for instance, from the intersection of Carson and 10th Street, and the the caretaker's apartment is visible, as well as just the very tip of the hip roof. So it's not, the parapet's pretty high, so it's not aggressively visible. However, it may be something you guys want to take a look at with the height of your mechanical equipment, especially up on curbs. And if there's any additional screening of a historic nature that could be provided. Another view corridor is from Bingham Street.
Sure.
Towards the Market House. And then the only other comment we had based on this presentation, the historic guidelines do not allow any painting of original exposed brick, even though it may be on a underutilized or utilitarian side of the building, which would be the side of the hotel. Mm-hmm. So that would be something that we would obviously comment on if that was being proposed. However, since a portion of it is already stuccoed, we really don't have any guidelines on painting stucco that was added to a building. So that would be something that would probably be under someone else's guidance as far as the art commission or someone else about what mural went there. Anything above that though would be we would have to say no.
Understood.
And other than that, I think it's a great project and we're really excited to see it move forward.
Thank you, Jody.
Are there any more comments from anyone?
Yeah, I have one more comment. When you go in the entrance and you're talking about putting like artwork at the entrance inside, I'm looking at all these great old pictures that you have in this presentation. Have you thought about maybe like getting these framed out and giving like a history there of the bathhouse itself, instead of doing a different art piece, but choosing to look at our history of the building and old pictures? I mean, I know I like to see those.
Yeah, well, we're thinking about that now. That's a great idea. There's opportunity for that throughout like the building, in the lobby, in the office. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know the history of it, that's for sure, but they enjoy it. So it'd be great if you could learn up on it while you're waiting. People swim or getting up. So
Quaylen has a question in the chat. Quaylen, do you want to speak your question?
Sure, I just unmuted myself. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So explain to me the historical. Well, let me stop. My clear question is in the 2300 block of East Carson Street, on the side of a building, we have artwork. Is it because of this building in particular that there cannot be artwork on the exterior side?
It's prior or after the establishment of the historic district. Any building that was not previously painted cannot be, any brick building that was not previously painted cannot be painted. However, if it was already painted, it's allowed to be repainted. We have no kind of control over that. We would just kind of look at colors at that point, or review colors. So that would be the difference. And then as far as the artwork goes, that pretty much goes through the art commission, although we reviewed one recently next to Chupka's 2 as well.
Right, right.
That was done without approval, but that was also on the side of a building that was previously painted. So they weren't painting over original brick, or we would have commented or made comment that they would have to remove it.
Okay, it was the Chupkas 2 that I was talking about, because we saw that here as well. Yeah. And I just wondered what the regulations were on that. So how do you make the side of that building look better then? I mean, I thought the artwork thing would be very sort of nice, or something historical. And if you've already talked about this, because I had to walk away for a minute, don't redo it. That piece.
Well, the thought was that the artwork could be a floating piece of sculpture off of a wall. Mm-hmm. Something done out of iron or... He's breaking up. Or else. Yeah, okay. Some kind of... But you have let me ask you this, because it looks like my connection's unstable. Do you have a resolution for that? And then just nod your head. Not formally.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I'm surprised that it hasn't been marked up already. So,
right?
That's a little shocking.
It's a target.
Don't say that, Barbara. Now that you've said it.
I know. So, anyone have any additional comments?
Hi, I actually have a quick question. I was curious if there will be any updates to the handicap accessibility for restrooms and showers within the main floor. And the second part of that question is the stairs leading upstairs to the changing rooms. Will the surface of the stairs be adjusted or edited in any way?
So to answer the first part of your question, and thank you for asking that, obviously that's a very important part of the building and the improvements. And we are definitely focusing on the current ADA shower and restroom are sort of back of house spaces right now and not very well treated. We're improving those to the same level of fit and finish as the rest of the building. There will be a new ADA shower in the current location, but with updated fixtures, finish, as well as with the ADA restroom, which will now open directly to the public, as opposed to being sort of a circuitous route as it is now.
That would be a major improvement.
And then the stair finish, that's a good question. Is there are there issues with the stairs, with the treads currently?
Well, it's just me personally. I have some trouble walking, and so after I've been swimming for exercise, to walk down the stairs after everything, I'm always afraid of slipping. And the stairs are pretty, it's an older building, which is what we love about it. But they're such that definitely holding on to that handrail for my life, trying to get down those. So just to make a comment to make them as safe for other people as possible would be fantastic.
Yeah, the steps they're in bad shape. They have the anti-slip nosing that it looks like attached to them. And I think you guys should look at how you can address that as part of the reflooring somehow, a new, I don't know, something on it. But it's awkward and it's hard on kids' feet. I know that, trying to walk up and down. So yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we had so far limited scope in both of the stairs, only because we saw the non-slip nosing and I guess figured that was okay, but it sounds like it's not.
No, it's not. It's not appropriate for there when you're considering a lot of people are in bare feet or thin floor, thin footwear, I guess, you know, and especially going down after the change and going back up to change. The front entrance stairs, that's fine. But the back stairs going down to the pool and back up, it's not appropriate and definitely problematic. So.
We will definitely look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? So I'm going to share my screen now, hopefully. So for our next steps with this project, and this project goes to the Historic Review Commission. It will go to the Art Commission and also the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And additional comments can come to the Southside Community Council at info@southsidecommunitycouncil.org. If you wanted to share your comments or to see this being presented at any of these commissions or boards, the dates have not been set, but we can always provide that information on our website. And you can also provide public comment. You can email testimony to the Historic Review Commission at their email address, the Art Commission, and the Zoning Board. And there are 30 days from today when we can receive additional comment, and then we will provide that to Elijah and in others. And you know, if they need to tweak their presentation, they've already heard from all of you, and that may provide additional comments. And then I believe they're ready to go to the commissions and the zoning board. So you know, these meetings are meant for the community to engage with the development. I think this was a great example of how that should occur. And there's always opportunities for more comment. So please remember that.
Barbara?
Yes.
This is Matt Brungo. I just have one quick question. I saw on your follow-up there that this will present to the ZBA. When I reviewed the drawings and listened to the presentation, I didn't see anything that I thought would need a ZBA determination. Are there variances or a change in use?
No variances or change in use, but we've had a pre-zoning meeting, and there are a couple of things that they still want to take a look at. Because we're replacing the sidewalk and doing the railing as well as the lanterns, Domi wants to take a look at it. And as Mike brought up with the trees, we're talking about how we deal with, there's no vegetation right now, and whether or not we can do any plantings. So talking with the forester was another part of that. As far as the zoning holds all of those aspects. There's a couple more pieces, but the height is not an issue. Those sorts of maybe traditional things, the setbacks are not requiring variances.
So thank you, Matt, for that. Elijah, if when you go to zoning, you're going for specific special exceptions or variances, we'll get that information once those meetings are assigned. So you may want to share that with us, and then we can certainly share that with those that are on the community via our website.
Sure. To date, no variances.
Okay.
I think it should be a pretty straightforward review process, but.
Okay, thank you. So again, thanks to everyone who presented and for all the great questions.
Barbara, before you go on here and talking about the links, I'm not sure if everyone's aware, this is a plug for the city, but the Engage website, the city has put some work into and is looking for comments from people who've been to the bathhouse. It's a really great way for the community to talk about the city, to talk about what's going on, what they're developing, but also a way for the community to provide photos, stories, those sorts of things. And so they're always looking for those sorts of things. Joe's just dropped it in the chat. So I did want to mention that got me thinking when you were talking about the comments.
And Barbara, it would be really great if I could either provide a link to this recording or provide the recording somewhere on the website so that people could see it. We do have a lot of people that visit it. So.
Yep, we will. We will share this also in our on our social media. That in particular, and we'll also can add that to our website. So yes, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
So our next presentation is the 2400 East Carson Street, and the former Goodwill building, and also the vacant lot that is at the corner of the Sarah Street and South 24th Street. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Over Walton Church.
And Mark, if you'd like to introduce your colleagues.
Sure. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Thanks everybody, the Southside Community Council. Thanks for letting us present today for the development activity meeting. My name is Mark Zavislak. I'm the project designer for this project with PW Campbell and Studio 109 Designs, a design build firm. Today with us we have.
Hi folks, I'm Jason Straley, Land Development Coordinator with PW Campbell.
And
good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Gurdon. I am the Director of Project Management with PW Campbell. We are the design builder.
So this project, again, is on 2400 East Carson Street. The proposed use is a community daycare center and therapy program for children 5 and under that experience some behavioral and emotional disruptions. I think everybody's aware of the location on East Carson Street. To enlarge the location plan here, East Carson Street, the double wide grill diagonal from the building in question, and then the lot in question in back of it, Sunoco gas station. So 24th Street runs page north-south to this image, and Carson Street east-west. As a more graphic image of the proposed plan. Again, the main building is a multi-story brick building on 24th and East Carson Street. The lot is on between Sarah and Cary Way and 24th Street and up to the north of the building. And a large drawing of the proposed playground to the north of the building, plan south, to the south of the building, I should say, plan north. Some of the proposed functions on the inside of the building, we have classroom space and office space on the first floor. This building is pretty much wide open as we speak. It was the former, as Barbara mentioned, the former Goodwill building that has been empty since then. The tenant has been gone for a little bit now. So it's pretty much on the first floor that we would take over with these types of functions, including new improvements to ADA, any ADA requirements. It's all new mechanical systems, all new electrical systems, all new plumbing systems as well. Second floor, which is sort of a mezzanine level, but it's in between the first and third floor, but we're calling it the second floor level, which will house just a couple therapy rooms and additional offices. So it's a mixed use building. In the third floor, some additional offices and restroom facilities. An old photo that we found looking toward the city on Carson Street. This is the building that we're proposed to renovate. According to what we have found out so far, I think they manufactured some mechanical equipment back in the turn of the century. I think this building was built. It's not registered as a historic building, but it is within the historic district. But you can see here from what it looks like now and from what it looked like originally, an industrial type brick building. And again, the whole first floor is sort of a tall space. There is a sort of intermediate second floor space and then a third floor space. Elevation wise, what we're proposing to do to the building, I'll give you a view right now, the corner of 24th and Carson Street. I think everybody's familiar with this building, especially for the famous elephant involved. But this is the existing building. We're proposing new windows, and you'll see in the elevation as well, new windows that sort of replicate it back, because as you see, it's been infilled through the ages and kind of adjusted through the ages with garage doors and so forth. So we propose to bring it back somewhat to the look of the industrial look that it had before, with these sort of industrial type windows that really accentuate the large one-story space, new thermal efficient windows throughout the rest of the building, and some more punched openings in the side to bring in natural light into some of the high bay space. Next view here is the famous elephant. Interesting about the elephant, that's a painting done by Baron Batch, and the proposed tenant of the building is pretty close to an agreement with Baron to introduce art within the building and all, especially the first floor. So he's been very involved with this project recently. We're excited for that. So he can still maintain, his presence on the south side and with his art within the building. This was the view. This is the view of 24th Street and Carson Street. The lot that's in question is to the rear back here that the proposed playground is going to be. And again, accentuating and improving on the existing look of the building today. Again, opening up these windows with new windows that have that industrial look and create sort of complement the look of the past original building. Again, these windows are exactly in the same place. We're just going to replace them with thermal efficient windows of the same size and type. The rear of the building, I think everybody probably recognizes the tall chimney that's in the back. One interesting note is that upon our structural analysis of the building, it has been determined that the chimney is actually structurally unsound. Our structural engineer has determined that either through some seismic activity, age, or weather occurrence, that chimney is unstable. So we are looking at trying to tear that down now. We do show it in the renderings because that information just got introduced to us within the last couple of weeks. it's a very narrow chimney to begin with. It's 40 feet straight up from the most support. It's again, structurally unsound at this point, and it's been a recommendation for our structural engineer that it needs to be removed, correct. So the rear of the building, as you can see, there's a montage of a bunch of mishmash of infills and outfills and things like that. So our proposal for the rear of the building, as you can see down this street, is to clean up a lot of that, infill a lot of it with brick, have a couple punched openings still remain for natural light in some of the occupied spaces. And again, this view is not really natural because there's a building right here, but I wanted to show the complete rear elevation and how we've cleaned it up. We are proposing, and I heard the initial comment, I think from Jody, about the existing brick. This is not this registered historic building, but the existing brick is in such bad shape that our proposal was to repoint and repair. And we're proposing so many new punched openings and so many infill openings that we propose to paint the brick and actually add some interest with some accent colors that create some more interest of some of the, not much, but a little bit of architectural detail that's in the existing building. And I know that was a lot shorter than the previous presentation, but anything else you want to add? I think we want to comment on our zoning.
Yes, thanks, Mark. If you could scroll back up, I think it was slide number 3 that I had with the existing site or the proposed site. Thanks. I'd just like to add on this is on our property on South 24th Street. It is a separate parcel than the building that we're proposing for the renovations, the 2400 East Carson. So it's required through with there. We're proposing to have a playground and a parking lot for the 2400 East Carson Street building. So with that, we are having to go through for the ZBA hearing will be required for the project. I'm looking for variances, or variance, I should say, for the accessory uses and structures on the playground use, because that is a zoned residential property, as East Carson is in the LN, I believe the LNC district. Along with that, too, there's a special exception required for the off-site parking for the proposed parking lot, as it's not on the same site as our subject building. And also with that, since it was mentioned before, the residential district there is we're also seeking a waiver from the residential compatibility site design standards as well too. We've been working with the folks in the planning office and with our ZDR applications. We're looking to have our civil package full and moving on to applications with NOMI for some encroachments and new sidewalks along East Carson Street and also South 24th. I think that's, Jim, do you have anything to add?
I forgot to mention that in our previous presentation that yes, we are replacing the sidewalks along 24th Street and Carson Street as well. And I know the tree issue came up before.
That's correct.
There are some tree pits there that are existing, yeah. And there are a couple trees there that are not in great shape. So with the new sidewalks, we would include, actually, I think we're proposing a couple more tree pits than we already have to satisfy those requirements.
Along with additional landscaping on the around the playground, accessory shed for the storage of the playground toys, and necessary landscaping or for the parking lot as well too.
That's correct.
I have a question.
Go ahead, sure.
This is Quaylin, and I'm assuming that the playground is off Cary Way because it's safer for kids to come out of the Carson Street building and cross Cary Way, right?
That is correct. That is correct. This arrow shows in plan, if I went back to the plan, where the students would exit, there's actually a gross motor skills room there. And then the proposed gate for the playground is literally across the way in the alley, correct?
Okay. So when you get to the parking spaces, Are you doing any decorative fencing around it or anything? Or as you go down Sarah or you go down 24th, are you just going to see a bunch of cars parked there?
Now, there will be landscaping surrounding the
Okay.
parking area. And
Okay,
the
good.
playground itself has privacy fencing around it, vinyl privacy fencing is what we're proposing.
So,
8-foot high privacy fencing, correct?
yeah, so 8 foot all the way around the playground.
Correct.
Well, so just to be clear, you're replacing the sidewalk all the way around this parcel of land,
That's correct.
and we'll have street trees all the way around it.
That's correct.
Okay. I think, I mean, that's the big ask here on this project. I feel it's in the residential area. We're being asked to accept parking in an area that's supposed to be residential. It reflects on the neighbors and that, I don't want to see, the worst case thought comes to neighbor's mind is Giant Eagle's parking lot where there's trash blowing around and the landscape's poorly maintained. And the best case scenario is, can't think of one right now, but something that's maintained that has an aesthetic and a landscaping component that is that looks very nice, like it's the back of your house, right? I'm a little concerned because it's at such a busy corner, what that's going to look like. I think I need to see as a neighbor of your landscape plan and what your plans are going to look like here in more detail. Because that's a big ask. What you're showing me here is basically just the utilitarian layout. And I really do need to see so that we can buy in on this, what it's going to look like and how you're going to maintain that.
And
I agree with
I can-
Mike. I agree with Mike. I'd love to see it once you get to that point too, because I mean, we both are right there.
Yeah, there's a few of us on here that are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
right.
I agree. I can literally see this lot from my front door, and what I don't want to see is just concrete. I
Mhm.
understand what's there right now is an eyesore because it's constantly overgrown, but I need to see some renderings of what it's actually going to look like, because that's not
That's
what.
fair.
Yeah.
And we are in the process of developing this civil design. The challenge is we're trying to serve several masters here. The challenge is just how much parking certain entities are going to require of us. And obviously, we would love to see the playground and the landscaping become the dominant feature of this lot. Again, it's in zoning review now for what they're going to ask of us parking wise.
So what you're saying then is there might be more parking than 13 spaces that you need to put there. So I think that even pushes us even more that we need to see what this is going to look like before, any of us is on board.
Well, if it's in zoning right now,
No, they're not. They haven't. Well, they have to propose something to zoning. They're not going to take.
I
this
see.
to
Okay, I'm sorry. I
Yes,
understand
they're
now.
still
Thanks,
working
Mike.
through. Yeah. But the other part of this is an 8-foot fence. I don't know if I'm in agreement with an 8-foot fence along 24th Street to surround the playground. I think there needs to be something else to soften that edge. A lot of planting, step it back from the edge. If it's for playing, like kicking balls and stuff, that's one thing. We can talk about how that's accomplished, but I definitely don't want, a giant wall of vinyl coated fencing, chain link up against the street, half of the block of the street. That's not something that's going to aesthetically be sufficient for the block, I don't think. We need to see some trees planted, buffers, green edges to this thing, whether it's conifers or deciduous, a mixture thereof. It's this very hard area, it's very urban. We need to soften this up, and we just can't have fences and hardscapes. So I would implore you guys to come back with us, give us what your civil, and hopefully you have a landscape architect involved and they can give us something here to show us what we're doing or what you're doing there.
Mike, what are your thoughts towards a reasonable elevation of the fence? Because the purpose for the fence is obviously the safety of the children. What are your thoughts there?
So it depends on what they're trying to do in there. Well, we haven't even got to the building, but I'm assuming what is the age of the children that you're housing in the building?
5 and under.
5 and under.
Wow.
So you're going to be kicking balls, I understand that, but a 5-year-old is maybe 4 feet tall. So I think a 6-foot fence is probably all you need to keep the fence, to keep the kids from jumping, or, if that's what you're concerned with, or people jumping in.
Right.
I think that could be something very decorative, something nice. And then you could buffer that with something more greenery behind it. So screening, I guess, is what I would encourage you to use, and not just a fence or a wall. Yeah, it's a very large piece of property. There's lots of room there. And I think you could use the edge to do that in some very nice way, I guess. Some nice full-size trees would be great, up against the backside. There's a wall of brick all the way along the left side of this, or the east side of it, to have some conifer trees there, some form, columnar trees growing up to block that really hot wall. It's, the western sun just crushes it. The setting sun crushes that wall, makes that place very unbearable. So yeah, stuff like that, just thinking about how we can soften it up and make it a little more desirable to be out there for the kids and for us as neighbors to see when it's not being used. But again, new sidewalks are kind of a must. And yeah, if you want to throw some other ideas of what these buildings, I'm a little concerned about the buildings as well, what they're going to be. I don't want to see like a vinyl shed, you know what I mean, on the back of the property that's just going to look like, really bad after a few years. Once it's going to be, attractive and have some longevity to it. So, yeah.
Hey, Mike, that, on the one rendering they have of 24th Street, if you could show that slide. Yeah. Zoom back here towards the playground area.
Yeah, it's just the chain link and the.
Yeah, I mean, that's gives you a couple trees there with a see-through fence, I guess. And if you would turn that into a solid wall, you would see that it would not look very attractive at all.
Yeah. No, but if it was shorter, 6 feet, I guess what I'm saying is if it was 6 feet, if it was something more decorative, like a wrought iron sort of black aluminum fence or something, and there's evergreens behind it that is creating the screening instead of, a vinyl fence.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I am more.
The rendering shows trees, but I don't think the plan view shows any trees.
Yeah, no, I think they're up there.
That's correct.
So, okay. I know, Jody, you want to speak to historic?
Sure. Thank you, Mike. I'll keep it brief. So we did have a chance to review this project. I think it was last week, and we just had a couple of comments. Obviously, this building we agree is a non-contributing structure, although it is in the historic district, and so the historic guidelines still apply. We do appreciate what appears to be the restoration of the original window openings with the industrial looking windows, which we feel are probably close to the period of significance. So we appreciated that effort to kind of recreate those openings. It looks like they've been, infilled over time. So that was a nice move. When looking at the street views during our meeting, the first thing that came to our attention was the terracotta surround of a previous entrance that has been infilled, but the terracotta still exists. And although it's unclear from the historic photo if that was original, may not have been, tough to say, kind of looks like it wasn't. We do think it could potentially be a portion of the building that could be we could say it's a part of its period of significance, or it's something that contributes to the building in a historic nature. And our recommendation would be to try to preserve that and maybe recreate the main entrance at that location. I know I'm very sympathetic as an architect because I know it messes with your floor plans, but it is something that kind of came to our attention on the facade. It is definitely eye-catching as part of the Carson Street facade. And we see that it's been removed on your renderings. And then the last part, to your point, Mark, on the painting again, and again, I'm extremely sympathetic to your cause. However, the guidelines clearly state that on that rear facade, which is a portion, is in the historic district, we would not be acceptable to painting that facade. There's always, additional discussion that we could have, and we actually encourage you guys to maybe set up a meeting with our full committee rather than just me, so that we could, provide some additional comments and maybe even brainstorm some other options that are available for that backside of your building. And I believe that was what we had.
So just to clarify, Jody, does that mean all the facades, all the elevations? Because we were proposing not just the back, but all of
Since
the
Carson Street and the 24th Street facades are previously painted, there is no guidelines that state you cannot repaint them. The only review that we would have are the colors that you would select. And that, of course, is, we look for more historic colors to be applied. However, the renderings that you're showing, would be acceptable. So.
Okay.
Jody, are they painted? It doesn't,
Yeah.
I didn't think along Carson was painted.
I believe it is.
Okay.
I think portions of it were during infill and things like that, to try to match when they patched, I should say, and they painted that part of it, to try to mimic a little bit of the existing buff color.
I mean, honestly, I could be wrong, but we seem to agree that from the photos we're looking at, that has all been painted with that tan color over time.
Could be. Did you guys have anything to say about the canopies and how we're doing that in the district? I don't know the guidelines well enough, but it is a projection into the public realm, and I know there's issues in other places I've worked. Jody, what do you think?
From the historic guidelines standpoint, obviously if there was any signage to be applied, there would be guidelines for that applied to those awnings. However, the awnings themselves, I think, are allowed. And I apologize, I don't have the guidelines in front of me. There may be a rule or a set of limits on size, and always, aesthetic as well. We're looking for a more historic look to any of these applications to the building.
Okay.
That being said, I do not think they're prohibited. And there's definitely a multitude or a variety of options available. It's not very strict in its design guidelines. So.
What about the lighting that we see across the facades?
Yeah.
Is that affected by the historic guidelines or the intended rest of the building with the 2400?
Honestly, I cannot answer that. I don't feel that wall washes are prohibited, although the actual look of the fixture may be under scrutiny as part of the review. I guess in summary, I would say, you're recommended to, definitely set up a time with us. We're fairly flexible as a committee, and we can, take an hour to review this with you via Zoom or in person now if you want. It's definitely an opportunity to, get our opinions. We're all registered architects. We all live in the neighborhood. We all have, work for design firms in the city. So it's a great opportunity just to get some more opinions and some more feedback on the overall design and aesthetic.
And we can certainly do that. I think that's a wise thing for us to set up.
Sure.
Do we contact you, Jody, to set that up meeting or some?
Yeah, you can contact me. I think Barb has our information as well. Bob, as I mentioned previously, Bob Ross is our fearless leader, and he wasn't able to be here tonight, but he would be the one to contact. He kind of, herds us all together. So.
I'll make sure that I connect you guys.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we
Can I
have a
ask-
couple questions in the chat from Joe Auditori. Is there a plan for the existing mural?
We, to reiterate, that's Baron Batch's artwork. We have talked with him. His quote was when we talked to him, because we explained to him that, we were going to infill that garage door and add some punched openings there. We wanted to bring that up because it is sort of known in that area. Everybody knows that building by that elephant, and that's sort of a trademark of a lot of his artwork. His quote was, it was interesting. He said, "I like it, but I'm not married to it." We have proposed a couple ideas of reusing that garage door. It is heavy. It is could present a challenge. We thought about maybe actually introducing that into the playground as well. We've actually come up with a few different options, and again, he's not married to it.
It was Barron's opinion that he could replicate that in a separate application, and he thought himself that probably made more sense than trying to save what is essentially a garage door.
And he also actually did mention, if it comes to that, he was proposing a great idea where the community could come and actually do an interactive, maybe ceremony or painting over the garage door before it gets demoed. So he was kind of into it, but almost like in a ceremonial way to retire it as well.
Well, just to let you know, that was done without approval of the Historic Review Commission. So that's
interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's just something that we didn't, as a community council and local review committee, it was on our radar, but we hadn't done much about it. So.
I think
And this is Joe. I just wanted to follow up on that thought. Not a native Pittsburgher by any means, but I do enjoy seeing that mural, and I don't know if the Art Commission or city planning would have a use for it somewhere else. So, public art is a wonderful thing. And so I think if the owner of the building isn't interested in repurposing it, I think you could entertain that. There's a lot of museums in Pittsburgh. I'm sure there's another place you could install it. I know Ormsby Park's not too far away. So just a thought, Barbara and everybody.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The chimney on the back, as I think, is more well known than the elephant on the front. And I guess I'd like to propose, or at least ask you guys, to see if you could take the top 20 feet off and still leave the pyramid and maybe some inkling or some memory of that chimney still on the building. It's, as I said, almost any local here knows where that chimney is, the stepped base of it and the tall spire of it. I don't know if the top is the problem, but if you could talk to your structural engineer and see.
We actually have, and I don't expect everybody to read the letter this evening, but we had this prepared for the presentation this evening. Mm-hmm. The chimney itself, as Mark mentioned, is unstable. And the bigger concern is that its instability is actually affecting the portions of the rear facade of the building itself, because we knew that this was going to enter into the conversation. Mm-hmm. So we'll certainly share this with everyone, but the structural engineer's opinion is it needs to go. He's very concerned about it.
Okay. Well, just ask if part of it could remain.
We will do that again, but we have. Okay. We actually discussed taking it down to the stepping sections, and he was uncomfortable with that, but we will ask again.
As I tell my clients, you can do anything. It's just a matter of time and money. The more you have of one, the less you need of the other.
Yes.
So.
Hi, Matt Brungo here. I have a couple questions about just to start the uses. I think we could refer to these two as the Sarah Street parcel and the Carson Street parcel. try to stay straight on which one we're talking. Can you bring up the overview of the Sarah Street? Yeah, there you go. This is in the R1A, correct?
Correct.
And you'd be using this for surface parking, and that's not a permitted use, right?
That's correct.
That's
yes.
correct.
All right, so you'd need a non-conforming use on this parcel?
We have been advised by the city that it would be with going to the ZBA requesting with a variance for that, a use variance.
Non-conforming.
Yeah,
Sorry,
non-conforming use, yeah. Am I correct that you're also asking for relief from the 50-foot residential compatibility standards?
That is correct, yes.
So you'd be putting the parking lot directly up, essentially directly up to the houses that are right there?
On the left, yeah.
Actually,
Go ahead. As I said, there is still meeting with the side yard setback requirements.
This is
along the structure along I believe that's Sarah.
the picture on the screen is very schematic in nature. The civil work that's in developing is taking into account the setbacks and the landscaping requirements for this lot.
Okay, I do think it would be helpful to have that type of work done and presented so that it could be reviewed. And, you know, in terms of talking to the community, you know, in terms of supporting a non-conforming use like that, I think some detail would be advisable at least. If we looked at the Carson Street parcel, you kind of read through it. What is your proposed use there?
You might go into that.
for zoning or the actual building uses itself?
For zoning, I mean, because right now I think it's a non-conforming use, but are you seeking to change one non-conforming use to another?
That is true.
So what use is your new use?
Yeah, the use is for the city. We have not, talking with the zoning department, they're investigating with the type of use of what it is, because it's offices with the don't want to say daycare use, but with the early development child care use. It is really not defined within the district requirements, or I should say like permitted uses.
So it is a non-conforming then.
Yes.
That would make it non-conforming by definition of what you just gave. It sounds like it's healthcare.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Yeah, we didn't want it, but not technically with like healthcare related, because there's not any. There's offices, in there that are related with the healthcare.
These are
so,
developmental
no
programs.
Surgeries, anything like that. Procedures being taken care of.
These programs are run as a daycare. It's an 8 to 5. Children are picked up at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not a medical facility. Is what.
Well, if I could ask, I mean, am I correct that there are 2 gross motor skill sections for work on gross motor skills? 12.
It's one large room that's split to divide the room if necessary.
Okay, and then there's 12 therapy rooms where presumably patients would have an expectation of medical privacy. They'd be HIPAA protected. I mean, I imagine, right?
That is correct.
And then you got 45 offices in your schematic?
Approximately, yes, I think that's right, 45.
Yeah. All right, so I mean, I looked at it, and I'm looking at maybe medical office, maybe educational classroom. They're both going to be at least an administrator's exception as a non-conforming use. And then I think you're also going to need to discuss the fact that you have accessory parking. And you're
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, it's just those are all. I mean, you're asking the community to review this. I'm going to point out that if it's a medical office, which I think fairly is the closest comparison I can draw to what you're creating, you need a parking spot, one for every 400 square feet. Can you show me the floor plan with the square footage detail?
That one says right there, 18,600 or 800. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a total number of almost 20,000 square feet.
Correct.
Yes.
So you're going to need at least 42 spots, and that's still less parking than you're providing offices. That's not accounting for drop off, pickup. The reason I bring all this up is I don't know how to review this without a better idea of where you plan on putting all the cars. I'm going to say also, I think you have to take into account the changes that are occurring to East Carson Street and the impact it's going to have on traffic patterns. There will be no left-hand turns at 23rd Street. There will be no left-hand turns at 22nd Street. All of that traffic is going to be pushed to 21st and 24th. So if you have a very busy drop-off, pickup, in and out, it will impact the ability for vehicles to move smoothly through this section of the neighborhood. And I don't want to lessen the fact that you guys are taking on a project and really improving a parcel here. Just from this aspect, I don't know that I think there needs to be more detail and a better understanding. And I'm going to pass it off. Scott Hollander dropped into the chat. He wanted to know what the total estimated daily attendance is, and then the number of professionals, because I'm looking 45 offices is about 45 professionals plus IT and support staff. You're going to have a staff of 60 people there. How many students in addition, and what do you estimate the in and out? What's the flow around this building going to look like?
The anticipated students are about 50. There are 45 offices. A lot of these offices are not occupied every day. I would say 2/3 of them are. So 2/3 of the 45 is 30 staff at one point in the building, and approximately 50 children. And let me go back to the site plan. Along 24th Street was the proposed drop-off pickup, not Carson Street. So that side entrance here was going to be the proposed pickup and drop-off, again, 2 times a day, early in the morning, and then I don't even think 5 o'clock, 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
I don't know if you guys have been down there at 8, 9 in the morning, but 24th Street backs up all the way back up to Jane Street, people trying to turn left onto Carson Street. That would be, you'd be adding to a large problem already. People are struggling to turn onto Carson. I think the lighting can be addressed, but I'm kind of leaning towards what Matt's, I think, hinting towards here is we need maybe a traffic study to figure this out. That we're all unclear of how the new Carson Street corridor is going to operate. There's been lots of promises by PennDOT about increased flow and better movement. But to be honest, that was based on history, not on something like this, where you're going to have, if you have 50 people, 50 kids a day, that they're coming 50 different ways. That's 50 cars, right? And some of them are medically fragile, maybe require a longer drop-off time, and you could have people backed up waiting to drop off. Is that possible?
Sure. There'd probably be some queuing going on along there on 24th Street.
You've got your hand up. Why don't you? There you go.
On for me?
It's time for you, Scott.
Okay. Hey, look, I work with abused, neglected kids. We have all kinds of kids with disabilities. We need more facilities like this. I'm pleased that this is being set up. I just really wanted to, get a sense of the impact and flow, both for the safety of the kids and the families, but also the impact on the neighbors and the community. So I guess my first question is, you may have administrative offices going on, 45 people in the administrative offices. You may have people in the therapy rooms one-on-one, but I'm trying to get a sense, if you have 50 children at a time, what will the staffing ratios be? Because there will be staff who aren't in those offices that'll have to be with those youth, those 5 and under year old children with disabilities that are going to support them. So I'm trying to get a sense of what's the staffing ratio. Is it 3 to 1? Is it 5 to 1? Is it 6 to 1? Is it 8 to 1? And because they're going to be circulating around, they won't be in the offices. They'll be present with the kids all the time. So I'm just trying to get a sense That's part of the operation. And then my second question is really it goes to this parking piece, because I do think it's going to be challenging. This isn't going to be like a quick drop off. Even a healthy 5-year-old kid, parents are going to get out and bring their kids in. So where are they going to park? How are you going to get 50 kids in at 8, 50 kids out at 4? And is there some thought to maybe using Carey Way as a place for traffic flow for pickup and drop off as part of the design that might lower the impact on 24th Street and look at those things? So that's a couple thoughts I had right off the bat.
I like the Carey Way idea. We had not thought about that, and we can certainly investigate that as part of the queuing to relieve a lot of the pressure on 24th Street. As for the other first question you had, Scott, I don't think I have it here on these drawings, but the staff to child ratio varies upon age. And there's usually, I would say on average, 5 students per staff. And you are right for one staff. And you are right, they are not all in the offices at one time. They meander around the building. We have lounges for them around the building. And that's why I said there's 45 offices. Not all 45 will be occupied at once. There's probably 45, if that, staff in the building at once, if that answers your question. But it's an average of 1 staff per 4 students.
Okay, so it's a 4-to-1, and of course they'd have to be present in that 4-to-1 ratio at all times. They couldn't be in their offices. So you're looking at, I got it. So I was just trying to get a sense of that. So they need to come and they need to park for the day. And then you have all the people coming to drop off their kids, which is probably, probably fit. Maybe there's some siblings. Are these all youth with disabilities, or is this a mixed use type of facility?
No, they're all youth with some sort of emotional disability, correct?
Okay, and physical as well, or just emotional?
I do not believe physical, although that could be, we have made the facility completely ADA accessible in case a child has both, for lack of better.
Got it. Right, so that makes sense.
Are any of the students, I know we're talking about 5 and lower, but do any of these students, are you aware they come by a van? Because oftentimes you don't have, the parents may not have cars, they may not be able to take their children to the facility. So I would think that some of these kids would be on a van.
Yes, that is true. I don't have any hard numbers. I'm not sure they could even provide them for us, but I can dig deeper into some sort of percentage of the children who would be coming in here via a van or so forth, other public transportation.
We have people responding in the chat that has something to do with what we're speaking about now.
Can I just follow up? I just have one last question.
Sure.
And then, so I guess that's sort of my question. So to me, Matt, respectfully, I don't think you get administrators' exception to that. This is a more intensive use than the existing. Even if you say this is moving from one non-conforming use to another, I can't see how this wouldn't require a hearing and not just administrators' exception to address the impact on parking, traffic, those types of things, as opposed to just administrators' exception. People may disagree with me, but I think we really need to work and think this through and find a way to address this. It's a really valuable asset to the community in terms of the need for youth. It is a significant improvement in what is not a nice structure. But I'd be happy to brainstorm and try to think things through a little bit. And frankly, there's a lot of money out there right now for this type of facility from the government and other types of things in terms of the federal funds that just came through that's people can have trouble spending by 2024. So I think there's a lot that can be done here for a really cool facility, but there's I think a lot to think through about the traffic flow, impact numbers, and the intensity of the use in a very busy corner of the neighborhood. And I don't know if, and I saw that my mother-in-law Deli just asked a question too, are you leasing a Goodwill lot across the street where there might be parking right there? Is that something that's being considered as part of that? Or do you own, who owns that lot? That was owned by, I think that was sold to someone else though, right? So.
That lot does exist over there, is not currently part of the project, but could become part of the project.
So right now, then you don't have enough spaces for your employees though to park at. Is that what you're saying? Because 13 spaces is not enough.
That is correct.
So what is your plan for employee parking?
Off-site parking would be the plan.
But you don't have off-site parking right now.
We do not.
Okay.
Scott, I just want to clarify. I think I agree with you. I was just saying, just going strictly by the zoning code, if this is a medical office in the LNC, it would need at least an administrator's exception. I agree that it's going to have a large impact on traffic and other, there's other potential things to be reviewed. I was just saying, if you look at the use table, it would require an administrator's exception to be a medical office in the LNC.
Okay, so other questions in the chat. A question from Sonia. I'm curious to the reasoning of putting the playground in the back of the property and the cars facing the neighborhood. Is there a thought to switch them around? Crossing Carryway is required in either setup.
We wanted to get the children as close as possible without having to travel through any other entities to get to the playground. So as immediate as we could, exiting the building and into, again, a secure playground. So yeah, so that was the reasoning to do that instead of trying to go up sidewalks or through another parking lot to get to their playground.
Okay, and Jackie is asking, does this facility exist somewhere else? Is it moving here or is it a new program?
It is an existing program that is in requirement of a new facility. Yes.
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah,
It's also an expansion of the programs that they're trying to present.
Okay, and then we already talked about Deli's question, and Marty Urim states that Carryway is one way between 24th and 23rd Street, I believe towards 23rd. This will definitely have to be taken into account if this is to be considered as part of the access route. But actually, the access route would be 24th to 25th, from what I'm thinking. And then he also said that I also believe this part of the community has permit parking area. And then Quaylen put that the section of Carryway is one way towards 25th. So they're asking that you take the one way of Carryway into consideration.
Correct.
One way towards 25th, and once you hit 25th, I believe 25th is one way, so you cannot make that left to go towards Carson. You would have to go right back into the neighborhood.
And we'll analyze that. Our original thoughts weren't towards Carryway because of its narrowness, and it does become residential once you get further down Carryway away from our building. But we'll analyze that.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't suggest you consider that unless we have another meeting with the residents of that street, because if you're going to push 50 plus visits, maybe up to 100 a day down the alley, that is 99 more than they have right now. I think that alley is very quiet otherwise.
Okay, and then the last question is from Scott again. Which existing program is it and where is it relocating from?
It's relocating from the Hill House.
That's part of it.
That's part of it. They have another facility in, is that Cranberry? The Pine facility.
I don't know that.
I don't know that part.
We can certainly identify those. It's just.
Well, I think the question is lending to those people are not, it's not at the Southside Hospital now. It's not at 9th Street. These people are going to be driving here because they don't live and work currently in the neighborhood, I guess.
Correct. I think that's accurate.
That's accurate.
So that lends me to believe that there's going to be probably more of a parking demand for the project than we currently have, than you probably assume, because not a lot of the employee.
That's what I mentioned earlier, fairly early, we realized that there's no way we're gonna meet any parking demand with the site that's available.
Well, actually, Mike, that's a fair question. It really wasn't why I asked. I'm really getting a sense of who's operating the program, so we get a sense of what the use is, because Hill House doesn't exist anymore. It's closed.
Correct. That's correct.
I really just want to know which agency is operating the program and where are they relocating it from?
It's my understanding that it's UPMC that is, and it's an autistic support. I'm not sure if I'm using the correct terminology, but children with autism.
You are correct. You are correct. It is UPMC is the tenant of the building, and autism is one of the programs that they're offering here. Yes.
So it's autism, developmental delays, that sort of thing.
Behavioral problems. Correct.
Intellectual disabilities.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
So if it's a UPMC facility, can the employees use the UPMC parking lot that it's at the end of Sarah, like around 29th Street? Because I know that the employees that work at the sports center park their cars on Sarah and then walk to the sports center. I mean, is that an option for these employees as well to park in that UPMC existing lot?
Well, that was the plan. We will define that further. I don't want to overextend myself until we have an opportunity to discuss that with UPMC. But yes, that was the plan, off-site parking in that format. Yes.
So anytime we've done an alternative parking plan with a development like yourself here, it's always been a radius of 1,000 or 1,500 feet, maybe. Correct me if anybody else knows more accurately, but that is way farther. That's got to be 4,000 or 5,000 feet. And what that points out is that it's just too far for the average person to walk. People are lazy. We all have good intentions, but on a rainy day or snowy or even a cooler day, they don't want to walk it, and they're going to try to impose upon the RPP district or something else to find parking closer, and it interferes with the neighborhood, the flow of the neighborhood. So I think we have to work with you guys to find something better, more appropriate, larger and closer. But I think, Matt and I were talking earlier, and
Mike, before you get off the parking, a problem too is that the parking, when you park in those lots, there's a cost related to it. Yes. And oftentimes, depending on the salary that the person is getting, it may not be reasonable for them to be, they can't afford the cost, and they'll park on the street. And even though we have permit parking, there's always a challenge with the enforcement. And so sometimes if you get a ticket once a week, it's cheaper than having a monthly permit in the lot. And so it's a struggle that we have that with related to parking. But I think as Mike mentioned, 29th Street is too far. I think that Marty has mentioned, 21st and, the parking lots up by the hospital off,
far.
They're far, and you may drive past an empty spot to get to the parking lot. So you take the empty spot and the street fills up. So parking is as you well know, parking is a challenge.
Sure. I don't want to overcommit until we've had an opportunity to detail this out with UPMC, but on other facilities we've worked on, there would be a UPMC shuttle program set up to get the employees from the parking that's distant, such as this, and get them to
So we're familiar with that system. So I guess in a nutshell, what I've heard, and Matt and I have talked about this from neighbors and other concerned groups, is, as a community, we love the project. We want this here. I think it would be an asset to us for sure. But UPMC again, has come to us, and they're proposing to put a product, a facility on our main district. Ask for a new non-conforming use in a district that doesn't need another non-conforming use, and then put behind it a non-conforming use that doesn't need another non-conforming use. When 5 blocks away, they've decommissioned an entire hospital area with parking lots and buildings. And they have recently come to us and said, don't worry, because we're not going to submit a master plan for it. We're going to let it go back to UI, and left us dangerously in the lurch with no plans for that district, but yet want to do something new here, which puts us in another lurch for this area, which is another non-conforming use that doesn't help us, with our neighborhood plan. So I understand when neighbors call me and are like, what's going on here? They have the whole hospital back there that's sitting half vacant, buildings and parking lots empty, and now they want to make a new parking lot in a neighborhood that we don't have room for parking lots, and we want to see more housing and more other things. You can understand maybe some of the neighbors' frustration about that, and them going from a landholder over here to, oh, don't worry, we're just a tenant and it's now your problem and the landowners. I think is a little disingenuous as a corporate member of the community. I think they could have been a little more forthright and come forward and figured this out in a little different way with us personally, and I think there's other people that feel that way as well.
And Mike, I don't want to turn this into like a whole long thing, but I want to say, you guys have to understand this. We're talking literally less than 2 years ago, they came to us with the proposal to change the Jane Street corridor into UI, back to UI off of their institutional master plan. We asked them not to do it, to find another better conforming base zoning district to transition that. And they politely ignored us.
Yep.
And turned it back into UI. And they promised us at the time, and had Councilman Kraus promised us at the time, that they were going to put their IT department there and it wasn't going to be a big deal. Well, then we had the pandemic hit and IT went and worked from home. And I don't know that IT has been relocated to the Southside Hospital site. And I don't know that it's still the plan to move the IT department to the Southside Hospital site. Also took the urgent care out of the emergency room and said, don't worry, we're going to provide the same service. We're just going to be a tenant in the Burger building and move it 2 blocks over. Well, when they did that, they reduced the hours and they closed it on the weekends when most of us and our families are at home and in need of urgent care. So now we're crossing bridges and going through tunnels to get medical care because we no longer have a hospital. We used to have 2. We now have 0 hospitals in this community, and our urgent care has been downgraded. So when I hear that it's UPMC, this is a great plan. I like a lot about this plan. I don't like that it's half-baked in terms of what your uses are and how you're going to pull that off. And I don't like that it's UPMC coming and asking us to change what we want to have done or what the neighborhood is supposed to look like to accommodate them when they own such a large piece of completely deregulated land that has tons of parking and they can do whatever they want to with it.
Yeah.
So I know I'm frustrated, but that's, I'll let it go.
And what I think Jackie had, said, what are our next steps? And I think, as I had mentioned to Matt earlier, this is a discussion that we need to have with UPMC. And, but I also believe that, with all the information that has been shared at this meeting, there are, we need to come together with all of you regarding just the various things that we talked about if this plan goes forward. And we talked about, the landscaping, we've talked about the need to communicate with the LRC in a little more detail. So I think there are a lot of next steps. And so, but the group that needs to be part of this discussion is not here, UPMC, and these guys are working on a project. And so it's information I think that may be good background information for them, but they really can't do, they can't do anything about it. So, we're going to have to continue this conversation.
I disagree, Barb, because they're going to be talking with UPMC about what parking they can borrow from other facilities. We're definitely talking about 21st and Jane. We're definitely talking about their parking down at 28th. So, and that is, you know, indirectly their client, and they are talking with them, I'm sure.
But,
So
it,
it
but
is
again,
important
it's
that they
also
do background. So
it's also it's good for background information, but it's indirect. And certainly, you know, the video, the recording is here, so you know UPMC can certainly hear what is being said, given the if they choose to do so. But you know, we need to sit as a community. We need to sit and talk with UPMC. So, are there any more comments or thoughts, questions that have not been raised at this point?
I have a question of my own, but then Quaylen also has one in the chat. Isn't the tower building vacant as well? And it has parking. They made Doc's move out of the building. I think she's talking about the Roche Taylor building.
Right, correct.
yes.
Yeah. And again, I think that is something that UPMC would need to answer as opposed to the
right. And that's the building. That is the building. And that urgent care center where you used to go up there in community health, I went up during the week and they said, oh, we closed that.
Yeah.
I do want to, if I may, I'm pretty sure everybody is aware of this, but I do want to make sure that everybody is. Our client is WAG 4. Wayne Gregg has purchased this building and is redeveloping it. UPMC is his proposed tenant.
Yes.
I do want to make sure that everybody is aware that, you know, Wayne is the developer here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes.
And then I have a question back to the 13 parking spaces that you have and the playground. On Friday, Saturday nights, you know, the South Side explodes with younger people partying and everything. Will those facilities, the playground and the parking, will they be locked up so nobody can get into them, especially the parking? Because I do feel concerned that somebody might try to go in there and park. And then I know whenever people park that aren't from the neighborhood, they just throw their trash out of their car instead of throwing it away. So I just don't want people that don't live in the neighborhood to have access to that.
Absolutely, both the playground, the gates to the playground, and access to the parking lot are card access controlled.
Okay.
And there will be just 8 to 5 or whatever, Monday through Friday, and care being provided here. There would be no weekend, overnight.
That is correct. Definitely no overnight, and yes, no weekends either. It is operated very similar to a daycare program.
So Barb, for next steps, I know as a community and the folks on the phone can gather comments to send back to the design team. And it doesn't sound like we have a lot of support here for the proposal as shown. What are the next steps then for this design team in order to receive any support from the community?
If you want to, I'll share my screen. If you take down your screen.
Sure.
If I can. So for this, you know what, you know, if this did not have, I think, as much discussion and questions about next steps, you know, the plan is for them to go to the Historic Review Commission. If within the next 30 days, if anyone has comments, they certainly can provide it to the community council. The same regarding zoning, but I think what we are saying is that, you know, prior to this going before the zoning or prior to this going before the historic review, we're going to need to meet again. We're going to need to meet Mark and his guys are going to need to meet with the local review committee, but we also then need to establish a time when we can reconvene, if you want to say, and after they've looked at all of the concerns that we've had, and then come together almost, is there a need to be a working committee so that these comments, the revisions to drop-offs and other things come to us for a discussion and input. And then also the piece with UPMC, and that may not be the issues around all of the things that UPMC has done in the past and may not have said in the past and may not have followed through with as they have said or committed to what they've committed to. That is a discussion also that we certainly can schedule so that can be discussed. So I think there's a lot of work that we have ahead of us in order to get this to the point before it goes to the Historic Review Commission and also to the zoning board, where we're feeling comfortable that the community can support the project. Any comments about that, those next steps? No comments?
I have a quick question, which is, so is there an agreement there will be further discussion with everyone before this will go to zoning? I didn't know what, I know that's not our call to make. It's really on the developer and UPMC side as to whether or not that's going to happen, or do we need to prepare to be able to go to zoning and make these comments and appear and testify, or I was just trying to clarify where we stand in terms of that process and what the timing may or may not be.
If I can speak only on behalf of the community, I don't think the project, and in projects in the past, don't want to go to zoning or to the historic review if they're in conflict, with the community. If there have been projects even that have come to the dam where they have, and community input is important, and it may affect the decision of the commission and also the zoning board. It is up to the owner, the developer, to say that they're interested in working with us, because at this point, I think that, there is some question as to whether we could support without further community discussion.
I think I can speak for Wayne, who's the developer, that he is very committed to the Southside community, and I'm quite certain that he will ask of us to come before this group again.
Mm-hmm. So we can,
Barbara, can I ask a question? This is Wayne.
Sure. Yes.
How are you?
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you for listening to us today. Of course, we are committed to the community. We've been there since 1985. I've owned many, many properties there, and I still own many properties there. My brother John, who's my partner, lives on Merriman. He's concerned of the community as well. So yes, we definitely will come back to you. A question I have: can we do it within the month period? Is there a way of doing one in between? Is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that I think this month, depending on people's time.
Sure. Understand.
Yeah. We need to find, we can work that out if,
great.
If we're all in agreement that, if the community wants to come and meet with you, you have looked into this, with UPMC to see what changes can be made. But I think, I don't know whether I would call it a dam or like a working session.
Sure.
And, but it, one, probably, similar to see how we can come to agreement.
That'd be great. We'll definitely come to an agreement. I think there's, a lot of great things were said here, and I agree with 99% of them, other than maybe too many trees. No, I'm only kidding. I'm
Yeah.
only kidding. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. Michael will throw something at me.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
thank
Of
you.
course.
You answered my question very well. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll definitely let Jim and Mark and the crew take all your questions and your concerns, and let's put something together here, and let's we'll make this right. And you know, it does bring the property back onto the tax rolls, which is
Yes, yes.
good. And,
Mhm.
you know, all that stuff. I think it is a terrific program. It's a program that it's needed for the community, and I think it's one it'll serve very well, you know, in the South Side area. So I appreciate you allowing us to come back here in the next couple of weeks, and we'll do that. We'll put something together, and we have answers for you.
Yeah, and I think I do, you know, as I have a list of everybody who is here, you know, I think if you're in, you know, I know Mary, and I think Lynn is, you know, Lynn O'Donnell, if that's correct. And I think I know everyone else, so I certainly can invite everybody to another meeting.
Perfect. That'd be terrific.
And you know, unless there are any further comments, you know, this recording will be up on our YouTube page, probably, you know, with Kathleen working on it, could be tonight or tomorrow. And you know, just, you know, check your email for information about another meeting.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we really do appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Of
Thanks.
course.
Thank you very much. We appreciate everybody's time.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye now.
Have a
See
good night,
everybody.
everyone.
Have a great holiday, everybody.
Yeah, hey, thank you. This is my first time coming to one of these in a while, and I really appreciate what you're doing here as the council and bringing the community together and having these conversations with everyone. It's a much better process than, you know, we had a couple projects back on 2400 block of Sydney where we didn't have this kind of attendance and opportunity to convene everyone in this way. It's a really nice thing, and having it on Zoom really does let people participate more. So I just want to thank the council. Maybe you guys are used to it and doing this a lot, but this is my first time, and it really adds a value and perspective to bring everyone together. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I agree. And we do value the South Side. We've been there, like I said, a long time ago. For a long time, we did St. Peter's. We did the Polish Falcons on 18th Street. We've developed many properties here.
And I just want to mention to everyone, if you're looking at your video, you know, we're heading out of the pandemic, and Mark and his group, it's just such an odd photo because, you know, that we haven't seen people sitting around a table. So we appreciate you, you know, leading us into that. And at some point, maybe we'll all be sitting around a table talking. And
that would be wonderful.
Let's hope so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.